of Britain's new £3 billion aircraft carriers could be sent to the Far East under new plans drawn up by military chiefs, reports today suggest. The class-leading HMS Queen Elizabeth is expected to visit the region during its maiden grand voyage next year. The aircraft carrier is set to be involved in joint military exercises with allies such as the United States and Japan during the visit, according to The Times today. The move is likely to be seen as a counter to China's increasingly assertive attitude in the region and beyond. And the reports of the voyage comes amid growing tension between London and Beijing, as well as the government's row over whether to include Chinese tech firm Huawei over security fears and growing pressure from America to exclude them from the process. On its Far East voyage, the Queen Elizabeth is to be accompanied by other warships, including 2 Type 45 destroyers and 2 frigates, while it will also have 2 squadrons of F-35B Lightning II jets. Likely one of those squadrons will be from the RAF while the other could be from the U.S. Marine Corps, The Times reports. As well as taking part in military exercises, the carrier, which along with its sister ship HMS Prince of Wales is the largest ever built by the British Navy, will also provide a platform for trade talks, The Times, quoting an unnamed defense source, reports. The HMS Prince of Wales, which also cost £3 billion, is said to be around 18 months behind its sister ship in terms of deployment. Once completed, defense chiefs hope to base one of the carriers in the South China Sea region. A source told The Times, one carrier will support NATO in the North Atlantic. Meanwhile, the Ministry of Defense last night said no decision had been taken on the HMS Queen Elizabeth's deployment. It comes as ministers fear China could unleash a devastating online attack on Britain dubbed a Cyber 9/11 amid increasing tensions between London and Beijing. Senior sources say, a perfect storm of diplomatic rows over Hong Kong, the tech giant Huawei and COVID-19 could lead to an all-out attack by Chinese-backed hackers. The warning comes as the government prepares to formally announce a U-turn that would block Huawei from helping build Britain's superfast 5G mobile network. After Australia adopted a similar hard line, it was hit by a sustained large-scale cyber attack. Boris Johnson has also infuriated the Chinese Communist Party with his tough stance on Beijing's clampdown on Hong Kong's freedoms and calls for an inquiry into the true source of coronavirus, which is suspected to have accidentally leaked from a Wuhan laboratory. Security chiefs fear that, in a worst-case scenario, state-sponsored attacks would cripple computer networks, leading to phone and power blackouts and bringing hospitals, government and businesses to a halt. Meanwhile, ministers are braced for a backlash from Beijing today when they confirm a ban on Huawei's involvement in the 5G network. Culture Secretary Oliver Dowden will announce that telecoms firms will be banned from installing new equipment supplied by the Chinese giant by Christmas. He will also order firms to rip out all existing Huawei kit by the middle of this decade. Huawei executives held last-ditch talks yesterday with officials from the Department for Digital, Culture, Media and Sport and the National Cybersecurity Center or NCSC in the hope of watering down the plans. Huawei ban follows intense pressure from Donald Trump to deny China a foothold in the West's critical infrastructure. Tough American sanctions have prevented the firm from using any U.S. patented technology in its microchips, but a Whitehall source said the ban would go ahead, adding, "It's fair to say Huawei won't be very happy with the result." Meanwhile, U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo's Monday announcement of the U.S. formal rejection of China's claims in the South China Sea means that Washington is no longer pretending to remain neutral on territorial disputes in the waters. It signals the U.S. has decided to take a clear-cut position and it wants a showdown with Beijing on the issue. From the 1970s, when frozen relations between China and the US began to thaw, until the end of the Cold War, the US did not involve itself with territorial disputes in the South China Sea. Yet decades later, especially after the US launched its rebalance to the Asia-Pacific strategy, Washington has sought to intervene under the pretext of safeguarding freedom of navigation and opposition against any use of force to change the status quo. Two excuses are aimed at China, as the US believes only China has the strength to change the maritime status quo and only China has been hindering US-defined freedom of navigation in the South China Sea. The US was merely hinting its opposition against China in the South China Sea issue in the past, while Pompeo's statement makes this openly stark. The US now stands on the opposite side of China and is aiming to turn the waters into a hot spot again. Over the past few years, the situation in the South China Sea has improved significantly. China and its neighboring countries have made progress in negotiations over a code of conduct. Yet at this point, the US has stirred up troubles again, hoping to rope in relevant countries and jointly mount pressure on China. Putting out such a statement is the first step. What is the US going to do next? It is highly likely to increase its already frequent military operations in the waters under the banner of carrying out freedom of navigation operations, send out more military aircraft and fighter jets to the region, strengthen military existence around the South China Sea, launch joint maritime patrol missions and even military drills with countries including Indonesia, Malaysia and Vietnam. US may also incite claimant countries to file lawsuits against China, just like how the Philippines raised the South China Sea arbitration matter. It is even possible for Washington to sell more advanced patrol vessels, fighter jets and naval surveillance equipment to boost the country's strength, and encourage them to besiege China in multilateral occasions, such as ASEAN summits and the East Asia Summit. Cards have already been played out by the US before. Yet the US has hardly changed anything in respect of China's relevant development. Infrastructure construction work in the South China Sea islands has been going on. New airports have been built and tested. China's actions to safeguard its sovereign and territorial integrity there have never stopped and can even be argued to be of success. What's more important, despite of its military advantages, China has refrained itself from using force to take back any islands occupied by peripheral states. Beijing will not be influenced in the future if Washington plays the same old tricks again. Whatever proactive measures the US carries out next, China will display its reciprocal strategy to safeguard its sovereignty. If the US launches military exercises in the waters, be it without arms or live fire drills, it can expect the very same scale in return. The similar type of military exercises can be carried out by China to match it. If the US warships come within 12 nautical miles of Chinese soil in the name of freedom of navigation, China will not only issue warnings and send the Chinese Navy to intercept them, but can also consider deploying more anti-ship weapons. If US fighter jets keep buzzing over the region, more air defense missiles could be deployed. If the US carries out joint maritime drills with regional countries, so will China. China has numerous cards to play. The only matter is whether or not Beijing wants to play them, as it never wishes to see tensions running high in the region or deteriorating ties with its neighboring countries. The US latest statement may send a wrong message to other claimant countries in the South China Sea that the US encourages them to provoke China over territorial disputes and make them believe the US has their back. The truth is, when tensions escalate in the waters with even possibilities of military conflicts and regional security crises, it is those peripheral countries that will pay the highest prices. The US, after driving a wedge between China and other regional countries, will then be delighted to take a back seat to watch the scene.